I've found that a reliable way to judge a bike's value is by how much you depend on it when the novelty wears off, when shine is covered in dust and gloss is replaced with scuffs. Setting aside its looks, its comfort, or even if it's still fun to ride. If it breaks down tonight, would tomorrow's plans be hindered? If the answer is yes, well, congratulations, you found yourself some value in that machine. In concerns to the Ascend Tank 150, this is where I stand. It's a small bike. I'm a tall guy. It is not comfortable on long trips, but it fits pretty much everywhere and gets out of its own way. Its small tires and make-believe suspension system are not fun to ride on rough roads, though somehow the bike has good tracking and is really stable on loose ground. While certainly not ideal for exploring the detailed technical paths, it is more than capable of transporting me into the heart of seclusion. Where my dual sport would certainly be a more enjoyable option in this kind of terrain, the tank's utility and storage has just led me back to it every time I need to carry a little bit of equipment or cargo. My personal recreational free time has a few requirements for me to consider them worthwhile. Two-wheeled exploration is one of those. For anyone who rides, you'll know it's an irreplaceable feeling. Now, many riders are content with simply having the memories of their rides, and that's fine. But for me personally, I'd like something a little more vivid in my future years when I'm too old to ride. So because of that, I like to bring my birds. Even if you ignore this model of bike and the fact that my requirements for riding are a bit of a niche, I think it's still a good example of the value you can find with a utility scooter in many different situations. So come ride with me and let me show you some of the places that this little 150 has taken me. This is the spot. This is definitely the spot. This is going to be fun. I can hear the buzzer, and it is not close. They do controlled burns on all the undergrowth. It makes it a lot easier to walk through. Looks like this spot's due for a burn. You can see leftover char on some of the dead wood. I think they did this one 2 or 3 years ago. I actually rode by it when they were doing it. I definitely need to hire a new drone pilot. It's right in front of me and I can't see it. Oh, not a chance in hell finding that without a beeper. Sweating so much, trying to unplug this thing and turn off the beeper and the camera, and I realize I'm just salty drops of water just landing on all my electronics. Where the f is the scooter? Would it be weird that if someone jacked my scooter, I'm okay with it because I got my GoPro back? Oh, there it is. It's behind that, parked perfectly behind that sapling. I think it's Murphy's. It's the Walmart gas station where they sell a jumbo bottle of Arizona sweet tea. And I'm gonna go to town on that. That breeze. Oh, much better. So much better. Yeah, baby. When I saw this for the first time, it was one of the best days of my life. Wasn't even paying attention. 2,000 miles. Just stopped to get gas. So the odometer reads 2,000 miles. But I know this speedometer reads like 5 to 10 miles an hour fast, depending on what speed you're going. So I have no idea how many miles I really have on this thing.
I'll use time instead of miles because I have no idea how far off that odometer is. I bought this bike back in November of 2024, which I believe is 10 months from the time of recording. Other than changing the oil twice and dealing with a few trouble areas that we'll get into in a moment, I've done absolutely nothing to this bike.
There's pump jacks littered throughout this, and as I'm standing there flying, all I hear is a gentle breeze and the moaning and creaking
of these pump jacks. I like to come out here and camp. Imagine listening to that all night. I kind of like it. Everybody in the comments who informed me that that squeaking sound I heard in my original video was the center stand, you were all correct. Every single one of you. It was the center stand. It's got a little wheel that rolls along the bottom of the chassis or the motor, I can't remember. A little bit WD-40 on that and no more squeaks. Also, I fixed the handlebars. They don't rock anymore. I know that made a lot of you guys really nervous for justifiable reasons. But I shimmed it. It didn't come with any shims from the factory, so I put some in it and we're rock solid now. Can somebody please let me know down in the comments why this $1,400 Chinese scooter has the absolute best headlight I've ever seen on any name brand motorcycle? Like, this is better than something I would expect to pay multiple thousands of dollars for. I didn't realize it in my original video because it was the only scooter I've ever owned, and other than a few cheap Chinese motorcycles, I didn't really know what good and bad was expected to be in headlight territory, but you guys were quick to point out. And once you did, I started looking at some night riding footage from other motorcycles, and they don't hold a candle to this thing. I feel like that's an appropriate pun. This is the best headlight I've ever seen. It's got a clean, crisp throw, well-defined borders. The low beam is properly adjusted to not blind oncoming traffic while giving you a wide flood. And the high beam just straight projects way down the highway. So you would be thinking that's where all the goodness stops. Everything else is downhill from there. Nope, wrong. The headlight is redundant. Yes, you have a low and high beam on both sides of the unit. So you can cover one up completely to simulate it burning out, and you still have a workable low and high beam on the other side. Here I'm just giving you guys an update of how it's been doing and what I've been using it for over the past year. If you're interested in the Tank 150 and you want more detailed information about it, link to my original videos in the description. I feel like it's important to point out that not all Tank 150s are the same. This is the Ascend Tank 150. I've seen a handful of others that are set up a little bit different, even though they look exactly the same. They're all Zuma clones, but underneath the plastic, things can be moved around quite a bit. I couldn't tell you what all the differences are. I just know on some of the models I've seen of the Tank 150, they place the fuel tank under the seat. Mine has it under the deck, and I like that. Whether or not you're comfortable with it, that's up to you. Under my rough road conditions, it hasn't been a problem yet, but I wouldn't want to go sending any rocks through the deck. But I like it under my feet. Gives me a lot more cargo space. Without having one to examine, I can't tell you for sure if this is the case, but I would assume it to be. The models which have a fuel tank under the seat probably don't need a fuel pump and simply rely on gravity to feed the carburetor, and that would give it one leg up on reliability as it's one less component to break. Now mine has a fuel pump because it needs to lift the fuel up to the carburetor, and I do often wonder if someday that's going to leave me stranded. The integrity of this scooter seems pretty good. It's been over a lot of rough roads, and so far nothing's cracked, fallen off, or failed in any way that I'm aware of. But of course, as mentioned in our first video, with everything being covered in plastic, if there is something slowly failing that I would be able to normally visually see, that's just going to have to wait until it's completely busted. Because underneath these plastics, there's no telling what's going on with the frame. I really should take them off and examine this thing, but it hasn't given me any reason to doubt it so far. Having said that, I'm past due for valve lash maintenance. I know I need to get in there and check them, but I'm not looking forward to taking off what looks to be a considerable ball of plastic and then removing what I assume is going to be some exhaust gas regulatory equipment that's wrapped around the
valve cover from what I've seen on other GY6 motors is once you actually get to the motor, there's even more to do, which for me, having just dealt with the Hawk, which is like a 5 to 10 minute job, it's probably spoiled me a bit. My biggest fear isn't really just taking the plastic off, it's putting it back on. The scooter is currently still looking pretty good, and I'd hate to break a bunch of plastic clips trying to take all this off and then just have it look like your generic Chinese scooter as it slowly peels itself out like a banana. I wouldn't normally care about the aesthetics of something this cheap and this Chinese, but the looks of this particular model were half the reason I purchased it, with the other half being its utility and cargo features. They both kind of mix together really well, and it's not something I'm looking forward to messing up.
Any of you scooter guys can tell me down in the comments if this is normal. I think it is, but what do I know? When I come to a stop after a nice long cruise, you can kind of smell rubber. It's not to the point where it's alarming. I just assume it's the CVT belt. Just a faint smell of rubber, because that thing's under a lot of heat and friction, so I just assume that's normal. But if it's not, let me know. I just remembered this compartment, as convenient as it is, it's right above the engine. And you definitely would not want to put ice cream in here. But these fully charged lithium batteries, they don't like heat. Actually, everything in here is fine. Okay. The walls are a little warm, but we're good. I'll check it again if the ride carries on for an extended period of time, but right now we're looking good. I freaking love the storage on this thing. I just wish the bike itself was a little bit bigger and had a little bit better suspension. The suspension's a non-issue if you have decent roads. I don't, so it's an issue. I'm 6'4". This is definitely too small for me. I make it work because I want to, but riding it for more than an hour gets uncomfortable. Not unbearable, just uncomfortable. And that's mostly just because of the leg room. If I was a little more stretched out, we'd be good. So it might not be anything more than a modification to the seat cushion, and that'll fix a lot of the issues. We'll see.
Last year I took my Hawk 250 up to Talamina in Arkansas. It was a 600-mile round trip, and it was absolutely beautiful. I want to do it again this year, but with the tank. The only problem is that ride was already really uncomfortable because dual sports aren't really meant for long endurance rides. We managed, and it was still worth it, but the tank is significantly smaller than my Hawk, and after riding it for about an hour and a half, your back really starts to feel it, and it becomes unbearable. Despite the seat on this thing being really comfortable, but for me, it just sits too low and too far forward. There are a couple of things I have in mind to potentially fix this issue, like adding cushion underneath the cover of the seat to raise me up a little bit and help me move backwards, or adding some highway bars, or maybe both. But if you guys have any other ideas, or if you've experimented with one of those options, let me know in the comments how it's working out for you. If I end up having to do the trip again on the Hawk this year, that wouldn't bother me, but I would like to try and do it on the tank because despite this being a smaller bike, it has significantly more cargo space and convenience, as well as places to tie stuff down to. This might not be as big of a deal to the casual adventure rider, but because I'll be bringing camera gear and birds, it's going to be a lot easier to get to my equipment when I can dedicate space for it. Last year's trip to Taormina, I was kicking myself for not bringing one of the birds because I missed out on over 100 beautiful pull-off vistas where any one of these would have made an amazing flight. But I'm not making that mistake again this year. Whichever bike I bring, I'll definitely have a bird with me. The tank will make that a bit easier because of the cargo space. See, on the Hawk last year, I was crammed and didn't really have much room for unnecessary equipment. Alright, so that's my 2,000-ish mile update of the Tank 150 from Ascend. If you have one of these or you're thinking about getting one, let me know down in the comments what you like about it, what you don't like, etc. And I hope you guys got some useful information out of today's video, or at the very least, were mildly entertained. And until next time, ride safe.